It's pretty rare that I see a movie that's so abominable, so atrocious that I actually feel embarrassed for even having wasted my time watching it, and that phenomenon just happened with the new horror film Tarot. I was squirming in my seat. I was getting so mad at what I was watching. Like, I was steaming. My body performed an involuntary gesture of shaking my fist. Actually got him with a why I oughta. I was fuming. I started fucking Fortnite emoting in anger. That's how bad this movie was. So it's got a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, which sounds about right. And I knew going into it was going to be irredeemable garbage because it is written and directed by one of the 3 writers of Moonfall. I sing the praises of Moonfall at least once every couple months. It is one of my favorite films of all time because it is objectively one of the most dog shit films ever produced, but in the most entertaining way possible. I think it is a masterpiece disaster of a film. It is so trash that it becomes immaculate. So I love Moonfall, and Spencer Cohen, who helped write Moonfall, wrote and directed Tarot. So I knew this had no chance of being good. But I didn't expect it to be this bad, like mind-numbingly bad, in a way that sucked all of the joy out of the room. Watching this film was like a Dementor sucking my soul out for the entire hour and a half that it played. Now, of course, it was basically an empty auditorium because no one cares about this movie. No one's really, fucking jumping out of their seats to be first in line for tickets to Tarot. But it was a pretty much empty theater. And man, I was embarrassed to just be there watching it. And it was painfully obvious that all of the actors in the movie were embarrassed to be there as well. It seemed like they were ashamed that they accepted the paycheck to appear in Tarot. None of them tried at all. Especially Jacob Batalon. You probably know him as Ned in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's in this film, and oh my god, it felt like he was giving the most sarcastic performance ever. Like, all the material he was given to work with is all really shittily written, but he took it and made it like a complete flat joke throughout the entire film in a way that I think was him just giving like a subtle wink and a nod to the audience that he knows that this is a bad movie he's in. To give you an example of what I mean, Jacob, while he's being hunted by the scary clown, is trapped in an elevator and the clown's doing his like scary routine, which ends up kind of looking like it was more of like a flash mob that the clown was doing. It wasn't even scary, it just went on for so long of him doing different bad dance moves. It's like it was trying to mimic my choreography that they see me bust out at the club, which is horrifying, no doubt. But here, in this context, man, it is so stupid and goofy. So the clown's doing all that choreography as the elevator doors are closing and opening, and Jacob's character is just going, ah, 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 almost exactly like that, until eventually the clown ambushes him and he goes, ah. He just couldn't even be bothered to pretend to care at all about the performance. Like, unironically, Matt and I's acting in our green screen merch shoots is better than anything you'll find in Tarot. And I really think that's because the actors were probably so deflated once they got the material to work with, they were probably like, oh boy. Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Damn it, Steven, you've swindled me into this one. But they've already signed the contract, so now they have to commit and continue. So anyway, let's get into like the meat of the movie. It's about as generic as you will ever see in the horror movie genre. And I mean that in the truest sense of the word generic. It literally starts with them at an Airbnb, just as like a group of college friends just doing a getaway. We know nothing about these characters, only that one of them has a birthday and now they're at this haunted little Airbnb. And they happen to find this box of tarot cards, and our main character is really big into astrology. So she does this tarot card reading for the entire group using these really creepy cards that are hand-painted tarot cards, and she goes through all their signs, like, oh, you're a Capricorn, you're a, Leo, so this, that, and she gives them all their horoscope readings. And I really feel like Steven, or whoever helped them with this movie, must just be big into TikTok astrology, because it just starts borrowing a lot of things TikTok astrology enthusiasts are always talking about that's just very silly stuff, like, if you use someone else's tarot cards, oh boy howdy, you better brace for a bad time. Or, the most powerful combination of divination is using tarot card readings on top of a, I already forgot, a wet blanket. I forgot what the other thing was. But they mention that multiple times, like, doing tarot readings on top of blank is the most powerful form of divination, not to be taken lightly, type shit. So it feels like this was made for TikTok Zoomers almost. But even they, I think, are going to be extraordinarily bored by this film because it is not scary and it's just really, really dumb. I think these are the stupidest characters I have ever seen in a horror film, and I do not say that lightly, especially with horror films like Wish Upon and Slender Man. I think the characters in this movie are even stupider, if you can believe that. Now anyway, she gives everyone their horoscope readings, and it turns out that the deck is cursed. There was, back in the 1700s, a woman who was wronged and decided to place a curse upon those tarot cards where she took her own life, and now anyone that uses those tarot cards and does a horoscope will be cursed and die from it. So the horoscope readings that she was giving are starting to come true in twisted ways. So for example, one of the readings was, you'll make some money, your financial situation will improve, but then don't follow the hermit because he might lead you down the wrong track. And it turns out he gets visited by the hermit after winning $700 from a lottery scratch-off, and the hermit starts chasing him around the subway station until eventually he falls onto some train tracks and gets hit by a train. So it's like the worst diet Final Destination concept imaginable. So now they're all being hunted by their horoscope here, and they're getting killed by it, and it's so underwhelming. Oh my god, it is pitiful, the attempts that they try and make here to scare the audience. Like, there's a couple of jump scare attempts, but I feel like maybe that was like a little icky for Spencer, so he's like, no, that's too loud, that frightened me. Tone that down a bit. So not even the jump scares are enough to frighten or startle anyone, because they're not even like loud or anything, and they're not even like startling, as weird as that is to say. For example, one of their jump scare attempts, they have one of the evil creatures lurking, and he pokes his head out in front of where this girl was hiding, but it's like completely muted. It's like super muted. So it's like in slow motion. And I know it's supposed to be a jump scare because then it kicks on the music right after that happens. But like it completely missed the timing of the jump scare. And that can be said about a lot of things in this movie. So Jacob's character, his name is Paxton. He's supposed to be the comic relief character, and he draws the Fool card, so that's why he gets hunted down by the evil clown. And his jokes are the worst timed jokes ever. Like, the comedic timing in this film is non-existent. Like, anytime Paxton is going to make a joke where he's like, yo, you guys are fucking, I gotta go, well, I can't think of anything he said, actually. That's about par for the course for Taro. Just had myself a Jimmy Neutron brain blast. I remember one of his jokes was, as they're doing the tarot card readings, she's asking, who wants to come up next? And he goes, I'll go to the bathroom, and then walks by her. And like, that's like the timing of that scene right there. It's so bad. And then like the whole group laughs at him like, ah, Paxton, you got her. Oh, fried. Nice. Like, that's the level of humor they try and insert in here. It sucks. It super sucks. Oh my god. Like, everything in this movie fails. Like, all of it falls so flat on its fucking face. It's almost impressive how they couldn't even accidentally get something as simple as a jump scare right. So anyway, let's talk about why I actually started getting heated, because usually these kind of things I'd find to be like fun bad and maybe even a little bit charming, but this one was actually just making me upset. So they figure out early on that those tarot card readings that were done is most likely what's killing them. So like the birthday girl dies, she falls off a ladder after her prediction was she climbs a ladder, but be careful because there might be a crushing blow from the high priestess to, do this and that, and she dies by falling off the ladder. And then the high priestess, which looks like some kind of Party City costume that was trying to emulate like the nurse from Dead by Daylight, comes out and starts hitting her with a ladder, and she dies. And then after that was the guy who got hit by the train from the hermit, and they're like, oh, that's interesting, they're all dying kind of the same way the horoscopes said. Weird. That's probably the cause. And all of them except for one guy immediately buy into it, but they still go and visit like this old lady who they found through a Google search. The most stereotypical horror movie cliche ever. Just like a random old lady who is just the exposition vomiter. She just is present because the writer wasn't able to figure out a way to convey this story in a way that made sense. That they just have this random character that knows everything, so she explains to them and the audience exactly what's going on. And all the characters confirm, like, okay, that's 100% what's going on, now we know. So, in the readings, she kind of says, like, what you need to do to avoid being killed. Like, oh, maybe don't follow the hermit's light because it might lead you down the wrong track. So basically it would be, all right, don't let that light scare you and lead you in different directions, and he wouldn't have fallen onto the train track, that kind of thing. So they all know this now. It's the horoscopes. And they're all very well aware of what their predictions were what her predictions were because one of the girls actually filmed her prediction. And their car breaks down, and the prediction was, technology might stop working, but don't be alarmed, just sit tight. There's no reason to run away, because else you might find yourself hanging. That kind of thing. Her card was the hangman. So the car breaks down on this bridge, and the girl is remembering, like, oh, okay, I need to not panic, and I need to not run away. But then, like, on, like, the glass, the hangman draws a hangman, and she's like, ah! Opens the door and starts running. The thing that they just reminded her, and herself reminded herself of, to not run, she immediately does in this inexplicable panic, when what was just established seconds prior is to just sit tight and wait it out. And then she just fucking freaks out, starts running, and then ends up getting caught by the hangman and hangs. And then, even after that, Paxton, who now knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that all he needs to do to survive is to not do what the horoscopes said. And his horoscope was, don't be bullheaded and make rash decisions. And then after that hanging thing, the group gets together and he's like, I'm gonna go back to the apartment, fuck you guys, this is very, well, it's PG-13, he doesn't say fuck you guys, he's like, poopy to you guys, this is a bunch of baloney, I'm not gonna be caught, out and about, because it puts me at risk, so I'm gonna go back to the apartment. They're like, no, listen, Paxton, you're being bullheaded, that means you're gonna die if you go through with this, you are being bullheaded, remember with the horoscope reading? And he's like, patooey, I'm going this way. I'm gonna be bullheaded. You don't know what you're talking about. Even though, minutes ago, he just witnessed what happened when you... Like, it's crazy. It's actually crazy. It's like every character here is like Drew Barrymore in 50 First Dates. They just keep forgetting things that have just happened. So, he goes being bullheaded, and what do you know? He gets attacked by the evil clown, the Fool. Like, I actually was so mad. Like, I had no reason to be as mad as I was, but it really felt like Spencer himself was just giving the middle finger to the whole auditorium, like, you guys are stupid for paying money for this, ha ha ha. Like, he was the ultimate evil tarot card slapped on the table here. Like, we just saw these characters describe in detail exactly what not to do, and then two characters do exactly what both of them said they will not do immediately. One of them, I guess you could write off because they got really afraid and frightened, so they stopped thinking rationally. I think that's a lame excuse for it. But Paxton, he was cool, calm, and collected, and then still just said, alright, I'm gonna go die anyway. Like, what? Huh? Like, there's so many things I could really pick apart here, but who gives a fuck? No one's seeing this movie anyway. I know none of you watching this had any interest in it, but man, this one is actually worse than Imaginary and Night Swim. I didn't think we'd find any horror movies for the rest of the year that would compete with those, but man, this one does it. This one actually does it. It is worse than both of those films. Leave it to one of the Moonfall writers to strike a new low in the horror genre of all things. Like, I didn't even know it was possible. But I will talk about one more thing in the movie, because it was another thing that just got me heated. So that old woman that I mentioned earlier, well, eventually the crew goes back to that house to get the tarot cards, because they eventually deduce that, hey, if we destroy the tarot cards, we probably break the curse. So they go there, get the cards, try and burn the cards don't burn, they're like, oh! They do like a fucking Mr. Beast thumbnail shock, and they're like, okay, let's call the old woman. Which, I guess that's a fine idea, but you know what happened like 30 minutes before that? They tried to call that old woman, and it turns out her phone doesn't work. Like, it just goes straight to voicemail because her phone doesn't exist anymore, which is why they drove to her fucking house and snuck up on her in the middle of the night, because she doesn't have a phone that works. Yet somehow, during this moment, not only were they able to call that old woman with a phone that didn't exist or didn't work, but she shows up instantly. She literally Goku instant transmissions to the front door there in a matter of seconds, even though it took them like an entire day to drive themselves to her previously. Like, this is just such a poorly made movie from top to bottom. Nobody gave a shit at all. Like, I don't know what you were thinking with this one, Spencer. I really don't. Moonfall is a beautiful disaster. This one is a tragic disaster. It's so shit. So the old woman shows up, and I'm like, okay, she's going to be, like, really helpful here. She's going to be instrumental. So she sets up, like, this ritual where she was going to reverse the tarot card readings to try and flip it on the evil entity the old woman who was wronged and cursed the deck. And as she's doing it, the old woman immediately just gets possessed, like she gets force choked by the evil entity and then stabbed with 6 swords. Because the evil entity did a tarot card reading on her where she drew the 6 swords card, whatever the fuck that is. And she's like, uh-oh, whoops-a-daisy. So then literally force grabbed and then drops her corpse with 6 swords in it in the middle of like the hallway. And that was the entire role of the old woman. That's it. She showed up just to get stabbed 6 times and contribute nothing. So eventually our main character's like, what if I get a horoscope reading for the evil entity? And like, yeah, that kind of makes sense if you turn your brain off. Why would that work? It's her tarot cards. She is the curse. If she doesn't want to curse herself, she won't. It doesn't matter if you do a horoscope reading. She is the tarot cards. But anyway, she does this reading on the evil entity, and she draws death as the final card. And the entity looks down, I shit you not, as she's strangling the main character. She looks down and goes... and then immediately just gets fucking deatomized. So somehow her reading also killed her, even though she is the reading. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. And it's even more criminally trash with the way that it wraps itself up, because it turns out Paxton didn't die. So Paxton cruises up in his car in the middle of the night after they defeat the evil entity by giving her a horoscope reading. And he's like, hey guys, I'm like actually totally fine. I was trying to reach you guys. You guys weren't answering. What's up with that? And they're like, how did you survive? And he's like, oh yeah, my roommate opened the elevator door and like scared the jester away. He thought it was like super weird. He was like really wondering what was going on with me. Like, okay, so that's how you beat it? Like, you could just have your roommate come up and, like, throw the whole thing into disarray? Like, it's all cattywampus? Like, the whole curse doesn't work if there's a witness to it all of a sudden? Like, what? That seems like the easiest thing to do. Like, you probably wouldn't even need to turn the curse around on the evil entity. You could just have his goofy-ass roommate follow you around and save you every time. It's just so dumb. The movie was so fucking bad. Oh, I can't wait to see what else Spencer works on, because man, he's got a really incredible batting average here with terrible trash movies. Anyway, I think 5% for this movie is about what I'd give it on the Moist Meter too. I have to agree with Rotten Tomatoes on this one. 5% for Tarot, absolutely accurate. What a bad film. That's about it. See ya.
There's a new movie out right now called Imaginary. I bet most of you watching have never heard of this film before in your life, and those of you that have heard of it, I imagine 0 of you had any interest in going to see it, because even just from the first trailer, anyone with eyes would recognize this movie had no chance at being anything even close to decent. It was doomed from the start. It's a movie about a haunted bear imaginary friend. It's as creatively bankrupt as it gets. I would sooner buy a ticket to watch the feature film of The Poop That Took a Pee than going to Imaginary. But I actually did go see Imaginary, so that point doesn't really work. That's moot. I saw it yesterday and can confirm beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's horrible. It's trash. It's terrible. This is the latest super stinker from Blumhouse, more like Butthouse, because this shit is ass. I am no stranger to bad movies, as all of you know. I have a huge passion for seeing them. But man, Blumhouse is pumping out some extraordinarily boring ones. It feels like they're not even trying with anything anymore. They just know that because the budget is so low for these movies, and there's so many people in the world that just want something to do, they'll make a profit off those just curious enough to buy tickets to pass time. So they don't even bother putting in the bare minimum amount of effort to even produce something that has a single redeeming quality about it. Like, I'm pretty sure Imaginary was probably filmed in like 2 weeks, because they just used the first take of everything that they shot and then just called it a wrap and said, print it, good enough. So I saw it yesterday with Aaron. Aaron and I have been seeing pretty much every bad movie of the last year or so together, and this is definitely a bad movie that we experienced, and I kind of want to just dissect it here. Not for any reason other than I saw it, so I kind of just want to debrief about it. I know none of you are interested in seeing it, but I don't care. I'm going to peel your eyes open and make you understand why this movie turbo sucks. The best compliment I can give Imaginary is it's better than Night Swim, which is a very low bar to pass, but it is better than Night Swim. That's the Blumhouse movie from January, which is all about a haunted pool. Big congrats to Imaginary for being able to beat that. What an achievement. The accomplishment cannot be understated. It's better than Night Swim. Put it on the back of the DVD box. Before getting super deep on Imaginary, I want to go ahead and thank World of Warships for sponsoring this video. Big thanks to World of Warships for sponsoring this video. I've been working with the World of Warships team for quite some time to design some custom in-game content, so I'm a commander in the game now. I go by Chuck Blast on the seas out there, and I'm an absolute menace. The name of our ship is the Blastmaster. We sail under Chuck's flag, so I help design the assets, the camo, just kind of top to bottom. It looks like me, it sounds like me, because I do the voice acting for it. Dead on target. I'm, for all intents and purposes, engaged in war out there, and it's extremely fun. Just as a reminder, sales to purchase my custom character, my commander, Chuck Blast, which has my voiceover, as well as the custom skin and flag, ends on March 24th. So make sure to get it before it's gone. You can of course still use my invite code Penguinz0 as well to get all of these goodies too. It's available for PC and consoles, and the code is for newly registered players, but existing players can acquire these items by purchasing my bundle or through the new internet's containers. So you can click the link in the description to get started. Thanks again, World of Warships. Imaginary begins with a man and a woman lying in bed together, and the woman, Jessica, has just had another nightmare where she's attacked by a spider, a big spooky spider. And in order to start combating these nightmares she's having, they decide to move in early to their new house, which actually isn't a new house, it's Jessica's childhood house. And she's forgotten her entire childhood, basically, talking about how foggy it is. She's got like amnesia, so she can't remember her childhood due to a bunch of trauma, which is a really convenient plot device. So she is the stepmom in this relationship, and the father has two children, two daughters. And they all move in together, and the older daughter doesn't like Jessica, but the younger daughter's more receptive to Jessica as like the new mother. And the dynamic there isn't really explored at all past the older sibling just going, "You're not our real mom. We were happier without you. We want our real mom back." And their real mom shows up in this movie for like 2 minutes for a jump scare. So the previous wife had some kind of mental illness that was never really explained or explored, but for one scene, the mom was having a tea party with the daughter late at night and then jumped at Jessica and fell over and then got taken away via ambulance. That was the like original mom's role in this film. That's it, and she's never seen again. This movie actually has a habit of doing that, where they just introduce these characters just for them to never be seen again for just a completely inexplicable reason. So like the father here, he barely has a role to play in this movie. So they move into this house, and within like 2 days, the dad's like, "All right, time to pack up. I gotta go on tour." So I shit you not, he puts on a fedora, packs his suitcase, and he's like, "All right, are you sure you guys are going to be okay, Jessica?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely. Go on your tour. I know the Blood Farts are really killing it this year on the Billboard Top 100. Go play your hit song, fucking Drops of Jupiter. Yeah, get out there." So he's like, "All right, well, I'm going on my tour." And he is never seen or even mentioned again. He tips his fedora and then just falls into the back rooms, and we just have to accept that he's just gone. We lost him. And he will never be seen again. They don't even mention him ever again, actually. Which is, I mean, whatever, I guess. So then it's just Jessica and the two girls, and they're trying to get along. Jessica's making her best efforts to be like this superstar mother, and the youngest daughter has found a bear in the house named Chauncey. And she's talking to the bear. It's her new imaginary friend, and at first Jessica's really supportive of it, but then things start getting really sinister when Chauncey starts wanting to play a game with her where she's like hurting herself. She's about to like slam her hand on a nail, and Jessica has to stop her from it, and that's when she realizes that this imaginary friend is not good for her because it's making her do dangerous things. So that's like the main plot line there. This imaginary friend is real and trying to get the little girl to do a ritual to join him in the imagination land, which is a fucking stupid concept. But there's also a lot of other things that don't really matter in here at all. So, for example, the older daughter meets a neighborhood kid whom she's like in love with instantly, so she invites that dude over when Jessica's out one day,
And the dude comes over and immediately makes enemies with the younger daughter. He's like, "You're a psycho." And then that was the end of that. And then for some reason, he's like, "So do you want to do these drugs with me?" So he pulls out a bag of pills, and then he has one on his tongue. He's like, just to show he's doing pills. And he was talking about how, like, last time he did these, his left eye could see 12 seconds in the future. And the older daughter's like, "Nah, I don't really want to do those pills. I thought we were just gonna like watch this movie and hang out." And he's like, "Fuck, this is so lame. Let's get some alcohol." So he breaks into like the dad's stash of booze and immediately breaks it, goes upstairs, and this is supposed to showcase the very first time horror in this movie. To this point, they hadn't had any elements of horror outside of that nightmare she had, which was super lame, where she gets attacked by a spider. I'm going to go ahead and mention the monster design in this movie is terrible. Aaron said it best, where he said the monster creature design in this film is just marginally better than Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but it's a close match. It's like they went to Party City, and they took costumes off the rack, and then just threw some mud on it, and then added some really, really quick Adobe After Effects VFX to it, and called it a day. It looks awful. It looks like Mummy 2, The Rock, Scorpion King levels of bad when it comes to how these creatures look. Ugh. I'll get to it more towards the end of the plot synopsis that I'm going down here. But anyway, so the dude's like, "All right, I got these pills. I'm going to go upstairs now since I broke the booze to clean it up." And he's taking a piss, and then all of a sudden, the bear's there. And he's like, "Ooh, spooky." So he pees everywhere, and he's like, "Oh, man, I'm just tripping because I'm doing pills." And then all of a sudden, the bear's back again. And this is like that scene in the trailer where the ring's going, and it's like playing the sound effects, and the bear's getting closer, and then it stops. And then the like fucking first jump scare of the movie happens where the bear pops out to scare him, and he goes, "Whoa!" And then he falls over and runs away. That's that whole scene, and that dude doesn't have any role to play in this film at all. It's not like he died there or anything. All it was here for was to deliver a cheap jump scare and nothing else. So, like, Jessica comes home shortly after, and she's very disappointed in the older daughter for bringing this boy over. And then the boy's mother comes over and is like, "I'm so sorry, my son did this." And then Jessica's like, "Yeah, and he also brought these drugs." And then the mom goes, "These aren't drugs, this is my allergy medication." Which is, I mean, okay, I guess. So the dude was tripping off Allegra, I suppose, Claritin, I guess. It's so stupid, and it has no role to play in the film, but it's here for some reason. And then you never see that guy again. He's never even referenced again. So now Jessica and the two daughters are once again just home alone. The imaginary friend situation's getting worse. She calls a therapist over to try and, you know, do something about Chauncey, the imaginary friend. The therapist is kind of odd, where the therapist is trying to get her to explore, you know, her feelings with Chauncey, which leads to a fight between the daughter and Chauncey. And then the therapist is like, "Has your daughter taken up ventriloquism?" Jessica's like, "Fucking obviously not. My 6-year-old daughter hasn't been studying ventriloquism. Why are you asking?" And the therapist goes, "Well, because, you know, it was weird." Because what happened during the therapy session is Chauncey was speaking in the voice of the daughter, and eventually the daughter turns around while panicked and crying, and the therapist noticed her mouth wasn't moving, but words were still coming out, so she's like, "Oh, it must be ventriloquism." And then eventually the therapist is like, "Well, I've noticed some in previous cases when an imaginary friend gets hostile and evil, you know, a kid disappears. So good luck." And then she leaves. She plays a video of like some other kid talking about her or his imaginary friend who made him chop off his thumb, and then like the kid went missing right after. So after playing that video, the therapist is like, "All right, so I'm out ski. Also, don't forget to pay my bill." And she just leaves, never to be seen again. But this whole sequence was extremely important to the film because it delivers the big twist. So that bear that the daughter found and has been carrying around the entire movie, talking to with her imaginary friend, turns out wasn't real. It was all in Jessica's mind. No one else was seeing the bear. The therapist recorded the session and proved that that bear was never actually there. It was nothing. It was an imaginary friend. But Jessica's been seeing it this whole time because it turns out that bear was Jessica's original imaginary friend when she lived in this house. so only she is capable of seeing that bear. It actually wouldn't be the worst twist in the world if it wasn't in such a bad movie. I didn't see it coming. Neither Aaron nor myself expected that, because why would they even bother putting a twist in a movie that has this little effort in it to begin with? But, like, admittedly, it's not the worst idea creatively to have that be like a grand reveal, like, oh, that was never real. Like, it could work, but it doesn't here, because no one cares. By this point in the film, you're already so mentally checked out, probably snoozing, that it's just, it falls flat. It really does. But, man, my voice is cracking even going over this movie. But anyway, so then she starts realizing that this goes really deep. The reason she can't remember anything is because of her imaginary friend and whatever happened to her back then. So she's connecting these dots about the never ever, and then like a door, and then she's researching it, and then the daughter disappears. So the daughter vanishes, and turns out she completed the scavenger hunt for Chauncey, which opened a portal to the imagination dimension. She's joining SpongeBob and Patrick in the imagination box land now. So then Jessica and the older daughter are freaking out. They called the police to start looking for her, and then an old woman whom we did see briefly earlier in the film, who was previously Jessica's babysitter, starts just exposition dumping everything here. Also, that old lady, her name was Gloria. She was seen earlier in the film, but kind of just as like this standoffish asshole. So like Gloria's talking to Jessica about being her babysitter, and then the little girl comes over, and then the old lady immediately gets combative with the little girl, where she's like, you know, you shouldn't really interrupt us. We were in the middle of a conversation. And then the little girl's like, oh, okay, maybe Chauncey should eat you. And then Gloria actually laughs and goes, haha, oh, children and their imagination, it's so cool, until they get violent. Basically just like I thought Gloria was about to start beating this little kid's ass. Like, she was like about to throw up a set here and get pugilistic with her. Like, Gloria was just immediately weird. But then she's seen here during the vanishing of the little girl, and she starts telling the older sibling, like, look, imaginary friends are real. Usually they're benevolent, helpful spirits that kids grow out of, but sometimes there's evil ones that latch on to a child and feed off their imagination. And Jessica had such a creative, vibrant imagination that imaginary friend didn't want to lose her, so actually stole Jessica into the imagination dimension, and Jessica eventually escaped. But now it's lived in that house for all these years and has taken Alice, the little girl, to try and get Jessica back. So we've got to do something. So now they've recruited the Avengers here. They got Gloria, the geriatric old octogenarian. They've got Jessica, and they've got the older daughter. They perform the ritual themselves, open up the portal, and confront Chauncey directly, whom takes on the form of a real ferocious bear. And Gloria reveals herself to be a villain, where she traps them in the imagination dimension because Gloria said that Chauncey gave her the directions to where they'd be promised this land of freedom where they can be young again. Their imagination comes to life. Imagination has power here, this and that. And then she eventually gets slapped by Chauncey, dragged into a room, and then blows up into an explosion of blood. So that's how Gloria dies. She's also the only death in the movie, for some reason. Sorry, my nose was running because this shit is actually making my sinuses flare up. But yeah, so Gloria's dead now, and no one cares. So they just go on and keep looking for Alice. They eventually find Alice, who doesn't want to leave initially until Jessica starts breaking things, and then Alice is like, this is fun, I'll start breaking things. Okay, I'm ready to leave. Bye, Chauncey. And then Chauncey just kind of lets them leave, but then grabs Jessica and is like, you're not leaving, I like your imagination a lot, so you're staying here with me. And again, he's still in this giant bear shape, and it looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. I don't know, like, I understand these movies are supposed to be made low budget, but you can do better creature designs. Like, from a design perspective, you can do better than what this has to offer. And maybe just don't show it so point blank, because then you really see all of its flaws. So she's being taken by this goddamn fucking Five Nights at Freddy's throwaway animatronic looking bear, and then gets saved by the older sibling, who grabs her and gets her out of there. But then there's another twist because it turns out she didn't actually save her. It wasn't a happily ever after. Jessica's still there. And then they just repeat it where the girl goes in and saves her again. And then they burn the house down. I've skipped quite a bit of the movie, but it doesn't matter. You're not going to watch it anyway. No one was planning to. But I already went there and saw it, so I just got to fucking talk about it because it's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's just, it's a movie that's made for the sake of just putting a movie out there to try and get some money in return because it's so cheap, you will make a profit off it. Like, it's a smart business strategy, and I've always said that about Blumhouse. It's a really smart business strategy. And there's probably, like, some kind of tax write-off element for it, too, I imagine. So, like, these movies, like Imaginary, they fucking suck. Like, this one was at points fun bad, I will say. There were definitely fun bad moments of it, but it still wasn't worth seeing in any capacity. But, oh well. Yep, so that's Imaginary in a nutshell. There's nothing good about it. Like, I guess there's a couple of decent ideas, and by a couple I mean one, where, like, the twist is the bear was never really there. And then, like, I guess the fake-out ending, which was totally meaningless and didn't really do anything, I guess that was a creative idea, too. But they also only let that twist sit for, like, 2 seconds where they get her out, and then it's immediately a happily ever after, and she's like, no, I'm still here. And then they immediately get her out, and then it's the real happily ever after. It's just, I don't know, bad movie. Very bad movie. That's really about it. So, yeah. I love horror movies and horror games, but not for the reason most sane people like things. I like them because 9 times out of 10, they're laughably awful, and that always puts a smile on my face. I'm built a little different, where when something is so trash, it becomes a treasure to me. Like, I have the most fun watching or playing horrible garbage. And that sounds a little weird, but I've been thinking about it recently, and it's something kind of like color blindness. You know how some people process colors in different ways, they don't see them the same way? That's kind of me with quality. I'm quality blind, where when something is so bad, I perceive it as being a masterpiece. I have so much fun with bad movies or bad games. They always make me happy. Happier than like a normal good game or good movie sometimes. And I know I'm not alone. It's a very real phenomenon. It's called fun bad. It is always enjoyable to just sit down and watch or play something that is objectively not good and just laugh at it, make fun of it. You know, point your finger at it, shoot spitballs, make jokes about it with your friends. Like, it's a good time. And for years now, horror has been the main genre that's been pumping stinker after stinker, blessing us with some timeless classic fun bad content. There is more shit in the horror genre than there is in the scat fetish genre. Horror has just become like the go-to cum dumpster of absolute abominations when it comes to entertainment in movies and games. But unfortunately, sports fans, I think we're starting to enter the dark ages of the horror genre where it's no longer making fun bad content, it's just making boring bad content that's no longer got anything redeemable about it at all. And the best example of this is the newest Insidious movie, The Red Door, which I saw last night. Now, before getting into that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Call of Dragons. Huge thanks to Call of Dragons for sponsoring today's video. Call of Dragons is a beautiful new MMO fantasy conquest game developed by the creators of Rise of Kingdoms, and they've been working on this project for over 3 years now. It's huge battles, tons of strategic freedom, and it's PC and mobile crossplay.
Big coolest feature now is the behemoths. They're these massive beasts that you can use to crush your enemies in PvE and PvP. You can fight with your alliance in guild versus environment. So, to tell you about a few of them, we brought our whole alliance here with us today.
Whoa! Call of Dragons!
Yep!
The Thunder Rock!
The Thunder Rock!
Ancient Magic Bear!
Mighty Red Dragon, baby!
There we go.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
It's contagious when it's Call of Dragons, baby.
There's ancient giant bears, thunder rocks, red dragons. There's actually 8 unique behemoths you can collect, and you have to enter their lair, take them down, and you can actually own 8 or as many as you want, and you train them up. They've got their own skill trees, so you give them the skills and powers you want so that you can take them into battle and crush your enemies with them.
Huge thanks again to Call of Dragons for sponsoring today's video. You can download it today by clicking the link in the description, or by scanning the QR code on your screen, or by using code CODMonster.
Yeah, if you use code CODMonster in-game, you'll get special rewards. So thanks again.
Magic, monsters, mastery.
This is the 5th Insidious movie, and it is long overstayed its welcome. The party's over, the music stopped fucking 2 movies ago, and yet it's still here trying to party, and it's just embarrassing now. The 4th movie was already overstaying its welcome, people were already fucking tired of it then, and now it's just sad and desperate. They've got this franchise propped up like Weekend at Bernie's. It's dead, and they're just like puppeteering its corpse right now. Insidious the Red Door has no story to tell whatsoever. It has no reason to exist other than try desperately to milk a little extra coin out of the property's name, because most people remember the first 3 movies very fondly, especially the first one. I remember that being like a phenomenon when that one came out. So the name still has weight to it, and they're trying their best to just get a little bit more out of it without anything left in the tank. So the reason I'm not making a moist meter on this is because I really want to dive into just what makes a horror movie no longer fun bad, and it just becomes a sad, worthless experience like Insidious the Red Door. So I will be getting into spoilers a little bit in this. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing or anything like that, but I do need to get into specifics in order to make the point that I'd like to make. Now, Insidious the Red Door is again the 5th entry in this franchise, but the beauty of that is you don't need to see any of the other ones to be caught up to speed on this, because it doesn't really tie into anything, and the only thing that it has is loose connections in the same characters from the previous films. You don't need to know anything about their history, you don't need to know anything about the world that it's in. It doesn't even really need to give you a refresher course on it, because everything that happens starts after a hypnotic memory erasing moment. So they get their memories sealed away, they get amnesia in order to forget all the trauma of their past, and then this movie is them slowly like realizing that something fishy happened. Why can't they remember like a whole year of their life? And then that's kind of what the movie picks up on. So you don't really need any of the other Insidious background information, which is good because I don't think there's a single person in the fucking world who remembers Insidious 4. I feel like we all got memory erased with how bad that movie was, because absolutely nobody I've seen online talking about this, or anyone I've talked to about it, like Tiana and I saw it together and I mentioned Insidious 4 to her and she had no fucking clue what I was talking about. I sounded like a crazy person to her, and I don't even remember a single plot point from it other than like a jailer jingling keys like he was trying to entertain like a Twitch audience or something. So this is one of the few compliments I can give to the Red Door. At least you didn't need to see the 4th movie in order to understand what's going on here, because everything that happens in this film is already nonsensical and self-contained to begin with. So the film is all about them getting their memories sealed away. You know, they've got it trapped, and then it's slowly getting back those memories. Dalton, the son in the franchise, is going off to college, and the dad, Patrick Wilson, he's kind of an absent father. He's been pushed away, and he's always foggy, as he calls it. His memories aren't what they should be, and it makes him upset. So he basically abandons his family in order to exist in this perpetual trance of confusion. So he's not a great dad anymore, and Dalton resents him for it. But he eventually lets his dad drive him to college. And he's an art student, and he gets a new art teacher who's a real hard ass. And she basically brings the demon out of him. He goes into like a meditative state under the instruction of the art teacher, and then he draws the Red Door. And once the Red Door is put on the canvas, all hell breaks loose. And by that I mean 2 jump scares happen, and pretty much nothing else. This movie is not even a horror film. That's the big plot twist. It is legitimately like a CW supernatural thriller, at best. There are very, very few horror elements in here other than just very loud jump scares occasionally, but even that's pretty rare. They ordered a horror movie but forgot the scary. They said, hey, can we put the scary on the side? And forgot the side of scary. This shit is so flat and goofy. So, Dalton, after drawing the Red Door, a hand like slaps his hand. He's like, oh no! So then he rushes back to his dorm in order to keep painting it and figure out what this means, because now he's starting to see things. Also, he has a roommate, and her name is Chris. And
she doesn't make any sense in this film because she is like the complete antithesis to a character you'd expect in a horror movie. She is constantly joking, and I think that's fine as a character trait, and I think it would work in other movies, but here, she does not stop joking. She doesn't take anything seriously. So when something that's supposed to be somewhat scary happens, Chris will immediately just get rid of all the tension with a joke like, "Hey, what are you doing on the floor? I just put a bottle rocket in the frat dude's toilet, and I think it went straight up his asshole. And like, come on, get up. You gotta see this. He's walking around with a firework in his butt." And it's like, oh, wow, okay, so now there's like no tension left and there's no scares left. Like, I don't even dislike Chris as a character because she was entertaining, at the very least, whereas nothing else in the movie was. At least she was trying to make something out of nothing with this film, but it does not fit in what is supposed to be a horror film because when she's on screen, you know that it's just going to be a bit silly because that's all she does is just have fun. Even in the most tense of moments, she gets strangled by an invisible demon. And right after that, like within 2 scenes, she's back to joking and gets a bunch of like night lights and makes jokes about it. So it's just a character that doesn't take the movie seriously, so how the fuck is the audience supposed to? You have a character that is actually just like making fun of the film that they're in. But anyway, so Dalton paints the red door. Patrick Wilson's character's in his own home and he's trying to go through these like memory things. And he's doing like a matching game on the window, which is a goofy idea to begin with. And they're trying to do like subtle scares. So I'll like lift up one of the things and you see like someone wearing an orange shirt in the background by the tree and it's out of focus and you're like, oh goodness, that's horrifying. And then the scene will drag on for like 2 minutes of nothing happening. And then just like the glass explodes for a cheap jump scare. Like it doesn't even really build tension. All it does is it'll show you something a little out of focus in the distance. And then all of a sudden, a fucking cannonball goes off. Just a really loud explosion noise. And that's the scare. So then that, you know, the glass blows up and Patrick Wilson's jogging around his house going, "Oh, no!" And then he like shuts a door. And then a ghost man pushes him against a wall and he finds a box of important lore tidbits. But not really, because the lore tidbits don't really mean much of fucking anything in this film, because there isn't a real narrative that they want to tell. But anyway, I'll just fast forward a little bit here. After learning about his dad, Patrick Wilson, he then goes to his wife, whom has divorced him, and she reveals all the bad stuff, the stuff that he wanted to forget through the hypnosis. She reveals that while under the possession of the demon, he attacked the family and traumatized the kids, and his wife really couldn't look at him the same way anymore. She just felt fucking sick by his presence. So that's why they sealed off the memories. That's also why they divorced. And now, since Dalton has drawn the red door, everything's starting to flood back, and the family's getting those memories returned to them gradually, and they're seeing things. So Patrick Wilson keeps seeing a couple of ghosts, and that's when it's revealed that the reason all this is happening is because the dad, Patrick Wilson, and Dalton are able to astral project themselves into the spirit realm, like fucking Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. So the entire half of this movie is spent astral projecting for the most part. And it's not like this is new for Insidious. We've known this for a long time. This has been a core component of the story. But here, it doesn't even bother to be horror. It is mainly like that astral projection in the smoky spot. It's literally just a room with a fog machine and that's it. It's not like very interesting to look at. It's just barren, empty wasteland. Dalton is the first one to realize that he can do this, and he does it at his college dorm in order to like scare Chris. I shit you not, when he learns that he can astral project himself out of his body, first thing he does is go to Chris's room, grabs her little mouth piano, the melodica, and he plays a little wonderful symphony. So he hits her with like the beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, like the actual electric zoo out of fucking SpongeBob, which startles her. And then she like goes downstairs and she's like, "Were you in my room?" He's like, "No, I was actually in the spirit realm in your room." She's like, "Oh, interesting." So then he does it again at a frat party in order to talk to a frat douchebag who died from alcohol poisoning because he thinks that he has clues about the door that needs to be closed. Because he'd seen him once before and he's like, "Close the door." He's like, "Wait, what do you mean by close the door?" So he goes back, this time in the spirit realm, to ask him more about the door. And that's when Chris gets strangled by the big demon. So in the Insidious franchise, the main bad guy is the lipstick face demon, I think is what he's called. He's that goober goofball who's like kind of red, but also just kind of silly looking. And his signature move in the spirit realm is he always puts a Tiny Tim record on the player. You know, the guy who sung the song like Living in the Sunlight? Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. That guy. He always plays that music in the spirit realm, and it's supposed to be unnerving, but it is so cringe. That kind of shit is in horror movies and horror games out the wazoo. Tiny Tim, like the music from Tiny Tim, has become a horror movie and horror game staple for low budget, low effort productions. And I feel horrible for that. That's so unlucky for Tiny Tim's music. But yeah, that's what the demon does in the spirit realm. It's that guy. And he's breaking into the real realm because Dalton keeps astral projecting. And I don't want to get into like really deep spoilers, so I'm just going to be a little broad here. But eventually, Patrick Wilson learns that Dalton is in trouble because Lipstick Face Demon is taking over his body. So Patrick Wilson, astral projection to the spirit realm, tries to find Dalton. Dalton's struggling, and his body in the real world has now been taken over, and he might hurt Chris. So the movie, within the last like 20 minutes, very desperately wants to be over. It very, very much tries to speed run through everything in order to just end quickly and be done. It didn't want to be a long movie because it didn't have a story to tell. It was already running so thin. So they really just shoehorned in the most cliche shit imaginable at the end here. So basically, Patrick Wilson's spirit projects himself, or astral projects himself, somehow immediately finds Dalton. It breaks his chains with a fucking hammer. Also, I'm just getting into fucking full spoilers here. I'm sorry. I said I was going to be broad, but I actually just can't talk about how silly this is without just being specific. So major spoilers here for how the movie ends. I'm doing you a favor, though, really, because I don't recommend seeing it because there's nothing redeeming about it. It's not fun bad. But anyway, Patrick Wilson swoops in like a hero. Dalton has still hated him all the way up until this point, and now Dalton's memories have unlocked, so he remembers that his dad tried to hurt him. But Patrick Wilson breaks the chains with a single fucking hammer hit and frees Dalton from Lipstick Face Demon's control. And then they both run away and close a door behind them, to which Dalton then puts paint on it and seals it forever, like a fucking sarcophagus, just entombs the demon back in that, you know, record-playing realm. And that's so fucking dumb. Like, I think that is so lazy, because everything just is a plot convenience. Patrick Wilson somehow astral projects and gets to the exact spot he needs and finds Dalton, who is buried under a bunch of chairs, and is able to break his chains very easily with a hammer. And then the Lipstick Face Demon, for some reason, is following them very slowly. And this is the worst fucking trope in horror films. The demon is always just so fucking lazy. He had unlimited opportunities to stop them and thwart their escape, kill them, anything, possess them. But for some reason, he's more than content to just watch and do nothing. And even when he has Dalton's body completely under his control, instead of killing Chris, he just does goofy smiles and bobs to the side like that, and nothing else. The horror movies of the modern age just make the big bad demon or ghost or whatever seem so fucking incompetent, like actual bumbling imbeciles. They have an unreal amount of time and opportunities to kill these people, or at the very least just stop them from thwarting their plan, but they choose not to. They must enjoy it to some level, because again, the demon in this movie actually watches him free Dalton, slowly waddle their way around this realm, and he just stands there watching, and he goes, ah, like just makes a loud noise, and that's it. Nothing else. And then when they finally close the door, then the panic sets in, so now the demon like punches a hole through the door, and he's like slapping him around like, let me out, even though he could have just stopped him fucking 5 minutes before that. An unlimited amount of opportunities. It's just so stupid. Like, it's not fun bad, it's just kind of frustrating to sit there and watch it, because it's boring. It's fucking boring. This happens a billion times in horror movies. Like, it is the most cliche shit ever. I'm so tired of seeing it. Like, I love fun bad movies, but Insidious the Red Door and movies like it are no longer fun bad. They're just copy and pasting the homework from other horror movies of the past and doing nothing different or interesting, and it's so lazy that it's not fun bad, and it makes me upset. It's just a waste of time. It is a cash grab off the Insidious name, and it has nothing to offer. It is just a waste of your money and waste of your time. So I wanted to rant about that a little bit because I'm a little concerned that horror movies going forward aren't going to be fun bad anymore. They're going to follow the Insidious Red Door formula of just doing the exact same thing a million times over. And it's going to lose all of its luster. Horror games have already been going this direction. A lot of horror games that come out these days are just the same old walking simulators that do nothing different. It's just the same jump scares, same walking simulators, so they're fucking boring now. It's very rare that you get a fun, bad horror game. But now it seems like movies are starting to go that direction too, and I think Insidious The Red Door has really set the bar for what I think a lot of these are going to look like, which sucks. So just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's really about it. So yeah, I saw Night Swim tonight. We'll talk about it. I don't think there's a single human being on this planet that saw the trailer for Night Swim and said, that looks good. I think everyone knew it was going to be bad, so I got excited. It seemed like it could be fun bad. Aaron and I went and saw it tonight. It was fun bad to an extent. So if you don't know what Night Swim is, it's a haunted pool. Family moves into a house, their pool is haunted, they got a demon in the pool. And it's... conceptually, I don't think you could come up with something more boring. That is such a lame idea for a horror movie, just, ooh, spooky pool. I'd have to really struggle, like really try to think of a dumber concept for a horror film. Like, a single haunted light bulb. Like, over the staircase, one of the lights flickers because there's a demon. A lady fell down the stairs and died, and now she haunts the light because it was too dark to see, and now she can flick it on and off from time to time. That's basically the same fucking concept as this movie, in terms of how scary it is. It doesn't even really try. There's like 3 jump scares in the film, but they don't even bother setting up tension. They just make a loud noise 3 times and call it a day. It's so fucking boring. Does anyone care about spoilers? I don't know how many of you are planning on going to see Night Swim tomorrow. You just gotta hop in the car right now, scoot in sideways to check this puppy out. Don't want to ruin it for you, but it looks like most of chat is saying no. So, right away, we knew this was going to be special. We saw it in Dolby, which is basically like seeing it in IMAX, but with comfier chairs. It almost felt sacrilegious to even put Night Swim in the Dolby Theater, the auditorium, because, man, it was something special. Aaron and I both love bad movies, so we both came to the conclusion that if we're going to see poop, we want it to stink. So we bought the extra, paid the extra price for Dolby to experience it. And I went in first, and I was like 15 minutes late, but usually that's fine because there's about 20 minutes of previews for most movies. This movie started instantly. They wanted to get you right into the action immediately. And Aaron was getting a drink because he thought he had time, and on his way in, he told me that a group of teenagers laughed at him on the way in to see Night Swim, and that really set the tone for the rest of the movie, honestly. It was embarrassing. It was shameful sitting there in Dolby watching Night Swim. So the story is, the dad was a former baseball star. Well, I don't even know if star is really the right word. He was a baseball player, major league player. He then came down with an illness, and the family relocates to this house that has this really nice pool. It's a really cool swimming pool, and they're super happy, and they get obsessed with the pool. But the pool's got a secret. It's got magic water, and the magic water is haunted by a fat guy. I'm not kidding. Like, that's the scare. The water has a fat, sloppy monster, and it's just a fat man that sometimes pop out, and he goes, and the reason he's there is because that pool was once a spring, a magic spring that can grant a wish, but it comes at the cost of needing a sacrifice. So you're led to believe that like seaweed monster guy is one of the people that was sacrificed, or basically he's kind of like the incarnation of the pool's evil. And so the dad is swimming in the pool and his illness is getting better, but his family starts seeing the fat guy. He's like in the drain one time, like the scene out of It, which you see in this trailer. And he's like the weakest monster ever. Like legitimately the weakest monster ever. This isn't even him, this is somebody else that came in for a single scene and never was saw again. Hold on. Wasn't it in the trailer where the kid sticks his hand in the drain? Because they borrowed that shot for shot out of It and did it significantly worse. And also, every single scare in the movie seems to be in the trailer. In everything it tries to do. And it doesn't even really try, to be fair. But yeah, it grants wishes, the dad starts feeling better, and he's like he's kind of a douchebag. So his son wants to be a baseball star like him, and the dad wants his son to like bask in his glory, so he takes him to like baseball practice. And he's trying to teach his son to hit, and his son gets a hit, and he's so proud. And he's like, "That's a great hit, son. But don't worry, we'll work on it, because it could be better." And then the dad's like, "Let me show you how it's done." So he steps up to bat at the practice with these 8-year-olds, and he's like going through it. He's like, "This is my moment. This is my fucking glory." And he fucking cranks a heater. And he hits a home run. And then he comes home and immediately starts relaxing in the pool again, which, again, summons the demon to his family. I guess he doesn't know that, but it doesn't matter. Because it's still so fucking silly how they wrote this guy. You're supposed to care about him, but he's just kind of an asshole. So one of the kids ends up getting his home run ball and asks him to sign it. And he's so proud, he signs the ball and he's like, "Hold on to that. It's going to be worth a lot of money one day." Because he believes the pool's going to get him back into baseball shape or whatever. I don't even know why I'm so fixated on this, because it's not important. Really, none of the story is. Pool just summons a couple of dead people occasionally and they go boo. It sucks. Movie fucking sucks. I don't even know how to really talk about it without just describing all of the worst scenes. It also has that standard horror cliche where it can possess people by getting into their mouth. So one scene, the dad gets the pool in him and then he gets possessed. So then he starts doing scary voice and like slapping his daughter. And then the daughter hits him with a baseball bat. And then it's just so dumb. I'm not gonna spoil the ending, I guess, but it's fucking terrible. Thanks for membership, Josiah. It's so boring too. Like, I'm making it sound much more entertaining than it is, because most of the film is just spent with them just idly swimming in the pool, or his dad reliving the glory days of being a baseball player. Spoil the ending, bro? Okay. After she hits him with the okay, I have to set up the scene. The dad's getting better, he's getting magically healed because the pool is actively drowning his son. The dad's possessed, so the pool is inside of him, the pool demon. And he's slapping his daughter around, trying to buy time so his son can drown. His wife is in the pool swimming to save her son. And it turns out her dad was a Navy SEAL and taught her how to be a Navy SEAL super swimmer, so she's swimming to the depths of hell, because inside the pool it goes to an alternate ocean dimension, so she's swimming to like the bottom of the abyss. Meanwhile, there's all these spirits of people that were sacrificed in the past for other people's wishes that kind of like yell at her, but they don't do anything to stop her. So she gets her son, brings him to the surface, and he's been down there for like 10 minutes by this point, but brings him to the surface and gives him CPR and revives him. And the dad comes out there after slapping his daughter a couple times, and then the daughter hits him with a baseball bat, and it makes him puke up the goo, this pool goo. And then immediately he delivers one of the worst lines I've heard in horror movies in quite some time. This had Aaron and I cackling. After doing his horror movie voice where he's talking about how Elliot, the son, has to die and he gets hit by the baseball bat, then he just goes into like wimpy man mode and he starts whining and he goes, "Elliot, you okay?" Like, that's his last line pretty much too. And then he's like, "I know what I have to do. In order to save Elliot, I have to go back in the pool and die." So he just swims out into the pool and disappears. And then it rolls credits. It's so stupid. His line wasn't, "Elliot, are you okay?" He says, "Is Elliot okay?" But in like a really wimpy, whiny voice. You know, it almost sounds like he's blaming his wife for it. Like, what is going on here? What's happening? What are you doing to Elliot? I knew I couldn't trust him around you. But like really whiny. Just drain the fucking pool. You see, they thought of that though, because if they drain the pool has like a will of its own, so it doesn't stay drained, basically. It would fill itself back up with the original spring water. The mom visits the previous owner who sacrificed her daughter so her son could feel better, and she explains that the pool's water needs to kill, and then it'll sleep. So the only way to make it sleep was by the dad swimming out there and dying. Just sell the house. They can't leave because the pool won't let them leave. The pool gets into the dad's body, and then when they try and leave, he goes... He starts coughing and choking. So it would have killed him had they left. I made it sound far more enjoyable and action-packed than it is. Again, most of the film is just spent with them idly swimming in the pool and putting together the worst mystery ever. There's no reason why the pool doesn't just immediately drown Elliot in the first scene, by the way, because the dad goes in the pool instantly. The dad goes in the pool, his wish is to feel better so he can be back to being a baseball player, and then pretty much right after that, Elliot is the next one who goes in the pool completely alone. It could have easily just killed Elliot right then and there, but inexplicably it decides not to. It waits until the mother figures out that the pool is evil before making its move. There's no reason for it at all. It could have done it right away. If the dad dies in the end anyway, why does it matter if he dies if they leave the house? Well, because after he pukes up the pool goo gets inside of Elliot. So then he needs to kill himself to save Elliot. So the autograph wasn't that good then. No, the autograph won't be worth anything in universe. Also, the scene after he signs that baseball, man, I'm getting into like the more useless scenes, but they're just so bad I can't help but talk about them. So he's not like outwardly disappointed that his son Elliot isn't as good at baseball as he is, but when he goes to practice to show off, the coach's son is really good. And he like fist bumps the coach's kid, and Elliot's clearly a little jealous, and then they throw a pool party at their house. And for some reason, the dad, Elliot, his dad, the main character, well, I guess he's not really the main character, but the baseball player, he starts talking to the coach's son as if it's his new son. Like, he basically adopts him. So he points at one of the other dads in the pool with a kid playing chicken, and he goes, hey, I don't remember his name, hey Junior, you think we could take them in a game of chicken? He calls him Steroid Shrek. He says, do you think we could take Steroid Shrek? And then he's like, yeah, we can take him. And it's like, why are you playing chicken with a kid that's not even yours? Elliot would love some father-son time, but instead, you're with the coach's son. So he straps the coach's son to his shoulder, they play chicken, and then he goes into the deep end of the pool, so he starts drowning, and then the pool goo gets in his body, this is how it infiltrates him, and then he tries to kill the child by grabbing onto his legs during chicken and drowning him. It's so stupid, it's so fucking stupid. It's a horrible scene. And then, like, the coach's dad jumps in, he's like, what the fuck are you doing, Ray? Ray, what are you doing? Let go of my son, you're drowning him. Ray, stop it. You didn't appreciate the movie? It's a metaphor, peasant. Yeah, it's a metaphor for don't swim, I guess. Oh, God, you just reminded me, in the very beginning of the movie, there's a pool guy who comes out because Ray cuts himself in the pool, and he's like, this is a weird one. So he calls out a pool guy to get the job done, and he's a real character. He's so quirky. He comes out and he starts leaning on the diving board, and he goes, pools. It's weird, right? This one's got like a natural spring attached to it. Never seen one in person. Isn't it interesting how we evolved from water, yet there's something deep inside of us that makes us afraid to go back. Maybe that's why we're so obsessed with taming water. And that's his whole statement, then he leaves. Never to be seen again. It's like the worst line ever written to be profound. So maybe the whole movie is a metaphor, perhaps. This is just the annual Blumhouse super stinker. I mean, it's January. I can't imagine a horror movie coming out the rest of the year that's worse than this. I don't think it's possible. Because again, it doesn't really have anything scary about it. It's very, very lame. Like, super, super lame. I know it's fuck you, it's January, but even still, this one's pretty awful even by that standard. Who the hell made this movie and what was the budget? The budget was probably like $2 million, and who made it is actually James Wan was one of the producers. Night Swim box office prediction, will it flop or succeed? My money's on succeed because it's a low budget. It's definitely less than 15 million. They're just speculating. It's 100% less than that. It's like the director went for a record in how many eyes they could roll. I don't think your eyes wouldn't even roll. You'd just be falling asleep. It's just bad. It's just not very good. There's fun bad moments, sure, but overall it's just kind of uninteresting. But yeah, that's the Night Swim review. Trash. But which everyone knew it was going to be. That's not shocking, but it's very, very bad. Worse than I expected it to be, for sure. What would I give Night Swim on the moist meter? Probably comfortably a 15%, I would say. I think 15% for Night Swim's fair. Look at me. Do I look crazy to you? I didn't think so. So then, why does it feel like I am? I'm sure you've seen the headlines right now. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 has a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And that really piqued my curiosity here. That really stirred my spaghetti. I had to wonder, how? How is such a thing possible? The first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is just a complete throwaway waste of time pile of garbage. It was purely banking off the shock of making a Winnie the Pooh horror movie since the property went public domain. It felt like they just speed ran to be the first ones to make a horror movie with it. It's a very low budget and it seems like it was rushed out as quickly as possible, and there's just nothing redeeming about it past the silliness of its concept. And really, there's only one good scene in the film, and I'm using the word good very loosey-goosey. There's only one really entertaining scene in the film, and it's pretty much the opening scene. I mention this every time I talk about this movie. Winnie the Pooh rips some lady's top off and her titties start jiggling around like it's an NVIDIA physics demonstration, and then he throws her in a wood chipper, but not before giving her like an ooga face. It's like the most emotion Winnie the Pooh showed in that entire movie. But regardless, that film is horrendous. And yet, its sequel, which came out, has a 100% Rotten Tomatoes. Granted, it's only 7 reviews. Like, I didn't think such a thing was possible. You know, I guess maybe there's 7 paid reviewers. They were shilling it. Maybe the director of the film gave them strippers and blow for the advanced screening, so they had a great time watching it. But that I couldn't imagine that being real. But the audience score is also pretty high, and I've always said you can't trust Rotten Tomatoes, but still, this is interesting. So, I went and saw Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 today, and I have to wonder if I'm suffering from psychosis, because there's no way I watched the same film that they're reviewing. It's still bad. Now, I will say, it is an astronomical improvement over the first film. But that's like saying solid poop is better than diarrhea. Like, you're not wrong, but it's still shit. And maybe that's a bit too harsh. I wouldn't say it's shit, it's just not good either. Like, I know they're creating the whole Poohniverse out of this, so they're making like the Twisted Childhood universe or whatever, where it's taking property like Winnie the Pooh, Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Bambi, and they're making horror movies out of it and tying it all together into their own horror cinematic universe with all of it. And I think that's like a really fun idea. Like, I conceptually, that makes me laugh, and I think that's what they're going for here with all of that. But right now, they're just starting to find their footing on how to make watchable movies, because the first movie is unwatchable. This movie is definitely watchable. It's just not a great film either. The movie does try a lot harder. It's still low budget, but you can tell it's a higher budget and they put a lot more effort into it. So first of all, I'm going to get my compliments out of the way here. They actually do a much better job with the character design this time around. Winnie the Pooh looks a lot better. It no longer just looks like some kind of fetish costume with Winnie the Pooh. It looks like an actual character now. It doesn't look like just a man in a mask. It actually does look like a mutant abomination, which it's supposed to be in the universe. They absolutely did a much better job this time around with the monsters here. And they do bring in a new face, a new villain, Tigger. So they bring him in from the Winnie the Pooh property. And he is, he's probably my favorite part of the film, just because of how over the top they had this character play. They also bring in an owl, but Tigger was a standout because every time he's on screen, he just calls women bitches. So he goes on a killing spree at like a nightclub. It very reminiscent of like the scene from Blade, or even like John Wick, but if there was no one fighting back, just executing people in a nightclub, really. In fact, it has nothing to do with John Wick. I'm just thinking of scenes with nightclubs. But anyway, he goes to a rave and he starts just murdering every person there just because. He's piling up corpses. And every time he's about to murder a woman, he makes sure to call them a bitch. So it'll be like, hey, bitch. And then like slash their head off. Or if he's like going on like a stabbing spree with his long fingernails, his claws, he's like, I'm gonna disembowel you, bitch. To every single one of his female victims. Every single one of them. It's his most used phrase. And that definitely did have me laughing a little bit. It's not exactly the most highbrow writing or anything, but it also shows that the movie didn't take itself too seriously the entire time. And that's when the movie's at its best, when it's not being super serious. There's a couple of referential jokes and meta jokes that they make that I actually did think land. Like, I thought they did a pretty good job when it came to, like, some of the humor they interject in here. But unfortunately, that's all overshadowed by trying to tell a really serious, dramatic narrative. So, in the first film, there's no story whatsoever. It's just random killings, and they're not very creative either. It's like the most stereotypical slasher-type killings, like getting hit with something in the head and they die, or getting run over by a car. Nothing too creative. In this movie, another compliment I have for it is the kills are significantly more creative. They definitely had more of a budget to work with, so they showed you some more interesting and more gruesome things. The very first scene, like Winnie the Pooh starts breaking every single one of this woman's appendages, and then puts her head in a bear trap and slams it on her, and it's fucking gruesome. And someone else is like burning to death in the background, and Owl is spitting like acidic venom on people as their face is melting. Like, there's a lot more creativity to the way that they kill. But I do actually have a statement on that I'll get to when I talk about the negatives. In fact, I don't even know why I'm alluding to it here. One of the things that takes away from that, though, is that because it's a low budget, they know that if you could see everything in broad daylight, you'd immediately tell how phony baloney it is and it'd take you out of it. So instead, they obscure all of it with like the darkest and most close-up shots imaginable. Sometimes when you're watching Winnie or Tigger or Owl kill someone, it looks like you're looking at it through a fucking microscope, like you're looking at their goddamn cells. Like, you can't really tell what's happening sometimes. All you know is someone is being brutally murdered, because you can hear it, you can kind of see like inklings of something on screen, but it is so fucking dark half the time you can't make out what's going on. So that is a big complaint I have, because they do try and get more creative, they do succeed in being more creative, but still they're betrayed by their budget because they have to keep showing you it in a really hard to figure out what's going on way. So shaky cam, super dark, cutaways, all this type of like nauseating like camera work ruins some of the scenes. And they do use CGI occasionally in here, and whoo-wee, is it rough. There are some scenes that look straight up N64 era, like Tigger's tail, for example. Goodness gracious. Also, in the opening scene, when someone is set on fire, I'm pretty sure that was just JPEG fire that they moved around a little bit. There is a lot of times when they try and integrate CGI into this film that you can really see they did not have the budget for those special effects. That it was just not there for that. But when they're using practical effects, for the most part, it looks pretty good. Back to what I was saying, the first film didn't really have a story at all. Just random killings with things that vaguely resembled Winnie and Piglet. Nothing else. Just, that's the whole story in a nutshell. Here, they did bring on a real writer, and they wanted to tell a real story. But it just does not match the tone of the film. The film is at its best when it's being over the top and goofy. When it's trying to be really serious by telling the story about Christopher Robin, who his brother got kidnapped and he's going through hypnotherapy to try and remember his brother. Kind of actually reminds me of the plot to the Five Nights at Freddy's movie in a certain way. But he's trying to figure out what happened to his brother. If I could only figure out who this man was that took him, because I saw a piece of him in my memories, then I'll know what happened and I can get my brother back. So it tries to make you care about that story and care about these characters in a different way by giving you this emotional narrative about guilt that Christopher feels for not being able to protect his brother, and it sets up a bit of a mystery there on, you know, what happened to him and how it connects to everything else. And it's not like a bad attempt or anything, but it just really feels out of place because it doesn't exactly land when it's fucking Winnie the Pooh and the gang just killing people for the vast majority of the runtime. So the emotional story that they're trying to weave in there, like jump scares to this killing montage, really conflicts with that because it just doesn't work. No one's gonna care about that storyline. Not that it's poorly crafted or anything, but that's just not the focal point of the film. The film is focused entirely on killing. And they established that immediately upon starting this film. They don't even really have a good reason for why Winnie the Pooh and the crew go on this killing rampage. Like the scene where they just start killing people at a rave, like Owl just says, "I hope you're ready to party." And then Tigger and Pooh start executing hundreds of people. And the reason? Because fuck you. That's why. I mean, there is like a light reason that Owl sprinkled in like 2 sentences, where he's like, if the humans keep coming to us, eventually we're just gonna have to roll over and die. So let's take the fight to them and just kill them all. So that's why they're out here hunting everyone. But yeah, the story here, like, again, I don't even think it's bad. Like, the backstory is simple but effective. Also, the entire plot, like the actual story, is extremely predictable. I think you will figure out everything the second that it starts introducing those narrative plot threads, because it's very obvious where all of it goes. It's simple. It's not bad, but it just doesn't add anything to this film besides just being like this side quest outside of just surviving the killings. It just, I don't know. It's very underwhelming. Like, they could have just doubled down on the over-the-top goofiness of everything. Instead of making like a story that tries to take itself seriously, make a story that doesn't. Luckily, it's not a long movie, so even though a lot of time is spent with this story, which is a fucking snooze fest, it at least doesn't bore you to tears because the movie is so short that you're still mainly getting tons of, like, over-the-top violence in this film that keeps you engaged with it, because that's really all the film offers. It's just a bunch of mindless killing in creative, yucky ways. So while I may not agree with the experts at Rotten Tomatoes that this is a 100% certified fucking fresh, and I don't even agree with the audience score that it's an 80%, I still think that it's definitely better, just not good. If I was to put this film on the moist meter, I think I'd give Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 a 40%. And maybe that's being too generous, but I really can't stress enough how much better this one is than the first one. Which again isn't saying a lot, but I at least appreciate they're going in an upward trajectory here. It's showing that they're learning from previous mistakes. Their past sins are being rectified. They're trying to bury that and be better from it. But yeah, I think I'd give it like a 40%, I guess. Yeah. So, definitely not a 100%. Don't listen to that baloney. That's really about it. So yeah. If there was a global leaderboard for horror movies watched, I imagine I would be in the top 50. And I say that sincerely. I think I have seen more horror movies than most people have seen movies in their entire lifetime. It's a genre that I am so passionate about because it's almost exclusively awful films. And by now, all of you know that I love bad movies. So bad they're good. I find them to be highly entertaining to just watch something that is objectively trash but in an entertaining way. So that means that I am constantly consuming horror films. Because bad movies and horror go together like cereal and milk. It's almost more impressive just how consistently terrible this genre is. It's just saturated with the worst throwaway garbage imaginable. Just this stinky pile of dog shit for horror films that come out in recent years. Now, it's not all of them. There are some bangers out there. There's some diamonds in the rough for sure. But 99% of horror movies that come out are just not good. And I've seen like 99% of horror movies. So last night I was just going through this big rant about like Blumhouse just pumping out trash, as well as like a couple of horror movies that I really like Hereditary and Martyrs. So it was this mixed bag of just ranting about horror as a genre in general, and I just wanted to show you all of that real quick because I have seen more horror movies than I imagine most people in the world have. Movies you've never even heard of, I have seen. In fact, my least favorite movie of all time is a horror film that I bet zero of you have ever heard of past the times I've mentioned it over the years. It's called Let's Be Evil. And the only thing scary about this film is when you recognize that your time was wasted and you were directly insulted by sitting down to pop this piece of shit on the television screen. It's a movie about nothing, really. Like, when Squidward goes to that empty dimension to be all alone, there was more going on in that void than there was throughout the runtime of Let's Be Evil. The plot is supposed to be like these smart kids are in a bunker and then they decide to kill their babysitters, and that's like the scariness of it. But like, that barely even really happens in the film. It's actually just these tedious chores that you witness with some kids solving like fucking three-dimensional Rubik's Cubes. It's so lame. It is indescribable how bad this film is. It's not fun bad or anything at all. It is actually one of the most miserable movies you can ever really watch. So, point is, I've seen movies in this genre that no one else has ever even heard of. This went on Netflix in like 2016, and I'm pretty sure it was taken off within the same year because I doubt anyone was watching it. I don't know if it's still there or not, but that would be my guess. If I made this movie, I would be doing everything in my power to scrub its existence from the files. I'd be erasing it like that planet the clones were made on in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. I would be trying to scrub this from the fucking archives. It is that bad. But anyway, let me just go ahead and show you this full rant. Before getting into it though, I do want to just shout out Plague Seeker one more time. This is my newest comic series. Issue 1 just dropped. It is 80 beautiful pages of carnage, a wonderful story, and just the best art you'll ever see in your goddamn life. So Plague Seeker issue 1 is out right now. You can find it at badegg.co. I'll put a link to it in the description. Pick up a copy of this bad boy. Do it for me, huh? L take on Blumhouse. Brother, look at the... What take? They pump out some of the worst movies because it's going to make them money no matter what. Because the budgets are so small. What do you mean? Look at this list of almost nothing but stinkers over the last couple of years, except for, I think it's Black Phone, Five Nights at Freddy's, and they had one more that wasn't absolute abominable dog shit, and I can't recall off the top of my head over the last 3 years. So Imaginary, dog shit. Night Swim, super dog shit. Five Nights at Freddy's, fine. Exorcist Believer, dog shit. Totally Killer, probably 3 people saw that movie, so I'm imagining dog shit. Passenger, dog shit. Insidious Red Door, super dog shit. Unseen, I didn't see that one, so I don't know. There's Something Wrong with the Children, looks like dog shit. Sick, I think I saw that one. Probably dog shit. Also came out in January, so most likely dog shit. Megan, good. Nanny, dog shit. I don't think I saw Soft and Quiet. I didn't see that. Halloween Ends, super dog shit. The Visitor, super dog shit. And every single one of these movies has such a low budget that no matter how bad it is, it's going to make its money back. Well, actually, Imaginary has a higher budget than almost all of their films combined. Their VFX team went crazy on those awful monster designs, I guess. But it's usually like $1 to $2 million, $2 to $3 million. Jesus Christ. How did Night Swim have a budget of 15 mil? No, what? That movie was shot in 2 locations. That's it. That's gotta be some kind of tax fraud write-off type deal. That is not a $15 million budget movie. They didn't even use VFX, really. I don't know where that money could have even gone. Maybe they're counting in marketing budget, because it wasn't, like, highly marketed. But, I mean, look at the box office. These all make a killing, even though they're legitimately terrible. I don't know why more people don't... I've said this a million times. I don't know why more studios don't do what Blumhouse does. Just make cheap horror movies and pump them out. They will always turn a profit. Always. Go up to their early movies, they're capable of quality. They're capable of quality, absolutely. They fund some really good stuff. Like Invisible Man, I thought was a banger. Megan, I also liked. Like, even in recent times. It's not like they can't make good movies, it's just that they normally don't, because they don't need to. So they don't bother funding something that's going to be expensive and somewhat of a gamble. Jesus Christ, even Truth or Dare. Even Truth or Dare. The $3 million budget, $95 million box office. Oh my god, even Truth or Dare. That's crazy. See, like, they don't miss. They can't miss. These things are so fucking cheap, and yet they always can turn such a huge profit for no reason. Oh my god, even Unfriended. Unfriended. $1 million budget, $16 million box office. This would be a box office disaster for every other studio in the world except Blumhouse. This is a 16x return on investment. I don't know why more studios don't do it. I'll never understand why more studios don't do it. Oh my god, Ouija Origin of Evil. Fuck, this movie was terrible. $81 million box office. They can't not make oodles of cash. No, I still haven't seen Sinister. That's one of those movies I want to watch. I've heard nothing but good things about Sinister, but I've never seen it. Apparently the sequel's terrible, but I've never seen the first one, and then everyone praises it. So I want to watch it. I just can't imagine this movie, like, actually being scary. There's only, like, 2 movies I've ever seen that I would actually consider, like, unnerving to me, to the point where, like, I was like, damn, that was a pretty startling experience. Hereditary, which I think is the best modern horror movie up until the last 10 minutes, where it just becomes generic horror schlock, and Martyrs, which I just mentioned. I don't even know if I can type this in on YouTube and have it be terms of service compliant, because this movie is so extreme. This movie, I legitimately think, is one of the most disturbing films ever made. Elvis the Alien made the video on it, and he covers it. And he doesn't even quite capture everything about it that makes it so powerful. It's a French film, right? Yeah, so it's part of a genre called extreme new age French, or extreme, fuck, what the, it's been a while since I've gone over Martyrs, but it's like extreme French something is the category, and it is haunting. Like, it's not a movie that's just shock for the sake of shock like some of that dog shit like Serbian film. This is a movie that has such a deeply profound story with incredible acting and like a really thought-provoking message to it. Like I mentioned, it's a movie that I still actively think about from time to time. It was a lot. Like, at first I didn't quite grasp it, I guess, fully when I watched it, but the more that I like sat on it, the more I was like, damn, wait a minute. It's so hard to watch. It is legitimately hard to watch, yeah. Martyrs is the best movie that I don't recommend to people. Yeah, I could never in good faith recommend this to anybody, because it is a lot. Is it scary? Like, horrific. There's no jump scares, or, well, actually there's like 2 jump scares, but it's not that kind of horror. It's like a very psychological, very hard to look at kind of horror. It's disturbing, and it's known mainly for its gore. It was weak sauce, to be honest. Now, Imaginary is this has got nothing on Imaginary. You're so fucking right. Yeah. Have you seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe? Super creepy. I think I saw that one a while ago. Is that the one from 2016? 2017? Had a lot of hype online. Because there was one of those, like, Autopsy of Jane Doe, the possessing of Lily Manchester, the possession of Grim Cheeseburger. Like, I've seen all of those, and they sucked ass. So if it was during that wave, then yeah, I probably saw it and didn't like it. This was during that exact wave I was talking about, like the taking of Deborah Logan, fucking the haunting of Sally Bacon Ranch. Like, it was like all of these movies were pretty much the fucking same thing. Another like classic that I haven't seen outside of Sinister is It Follows. I never saw that one. And yeah, we already went over the Poonieverse. We were just talking about that a little bit ago. Barbarian was pretty good. I like Barbarian. Thanks for your snowman. Have you ever done a horror movie tier list? It might be a fun stream idea. That is a pretty good stream idea, actually. I'm gonna write that down. That's not a bad idea at all. It'd be kind of nice, because I saw every single horror movie that ever hit streaming services from I think it was like from 2015 to 2017. So like anything that was released during that period, I saw every single horror movie. So I've got a catalog of some of the dumbest shit none of you have ever heard of. So that's a pretty good idea. Maybe I will do that. Martyrs is torture porn. It's not, though. That is kind of what it became known for like all the gore and stuff, but it is a movie that has an incredibly unnerving and deep message and concept. It's so much more than that. If it was just torture porn, it'd just be another throwaway piece of shit schlock film, but it's not. Teeth. Teeth was another one of those movies that had such a mystique built up around it. I remember it was during the 360 era, when people were still watching like movies and shit from the Xbox dashboard. So you'd see, well, at least I'd see a couple of my friends watching Teeth, and then they'd hype it up like, man, that was so fucking disturbing, that shit was crazy, you're not ready for Teeth, you can't handle it. And then like, I never bothered watching it, but then a couple years later, I was like, oh, I remember Teeth. People used to watch that on Xbox dashboard and said it was like crazy, I'll have to check it out. And it was so fucking silly. Like, it seemed like it was self-aware in its silliness. And then there's like the gynecologist who's like, Vagina denta! Vagina denta! It was a very cool movie. And then it set itself up for like a sequel I don't think ever came. Where she was going to be some kind of vigilante superhero biting wieners off with her vagina teeth. Missed opportunity. It's not too late. They can bring the vagina teeth girl into the Poonieverse. She can fight Winnie the Pooh and Piglet by biting their cocks off. This is a super weird segue, but when I was taking a shit, I was closing some old tabs, and sometimes what I do is I write down things that I don't want to forget. And this is an older note, but I recognized I never talked about it. I went to a strip club like a little while back, and there was a stripper there who, like, during her performance, like stopped everything, like stopped all movement around her, like the other dancers, and grabbed one of the dollar bills. And I was like, oh, she's about to do like some kind of cool magic trick. And then she got to the middle of the floor, put her legs over her head, put the dollar bill on her vagina, and shot it out like a rail gun with an air blast. She was like airbending it with, with her pussy. So I wrote down in my tabs, stripper dollar air blast, to remind myself of that, because I wanted to talk about it, because I was so fucking impressed with it. I was like, Jesus, the distance on that. And then she went for like round 2 on it, and I was like, fuck! Jesus, she's got a cannon! And Vagina Denta just reminded me of it. Did you tip her? Yeah, Caleb and I were just fucking like throwing ones at her. Do it again! Do it again! That's my favorite trick! Whoa! How far did it go? Through the ceiling. I thought she was gonna fucking blast a hole through it. Like, you know how... You remember like in Tom and Jerry when they're spitting watermelon seeds like a minigun? That's what she was doing with dollar bills in her pussy. Well, with a dollar bill. I guess. It wasn't multiple. Though I guess if she had like started stuffing them, she may have been able to. I think I can do the same thing with my butthole. Not without shitting. I don't think so. It takes so much force and strain, you'd absolutely just poop. That's talent, brother.